essentially the 7 tools you need to no longer be compliant and brainwashed to work in their content farms, right? These are the tools that will set you free, liberate your cinematic soul. But as I went through it, I realized it wasn't a list of 7, it's actually a list of 20. So I'm going to have to talk really fast, so I'm sorry. So, and the reason, I have to pace somehow. The reason that but it's more than 7 is right off the bat, one of the key things that I learned is actually the key to, I would say, the success that I've had. I've been able to be an intimate partner on 140 films as a producer and executive. I've been able to build systems. I've had really great opportunities along the way. And it's because of one trait, which is I always try to ask, why is this way? Why does it have to be this way? How else could it be done? What is blocking me from getting this done in this way, right? And I want you to ask that regarding these 7 tools that I want you to put into your belt. And ultimately, the reason, if that was one additional one, it's also a second additional one, is that this all has become part of my creative practice. It is how I'm loving life, how I have the enthusiasm that I do. I've embedded it in my creative practice. And it occurs to me along the way, why don't we talk about our creative practices more often? Why don't we talk about the things that we can build to help us do those things better? And this is all part of mine. Right, so it's actually already 2. So the first one that I want to talk about is I want you to dream incessantly of a better world. This is Utopian Ideation, right? And it's so key. And the truth is, it's a big assignment. When I started embracing this myself, it took me 5 years to get my first draft done. And as all of you know, first drafts aren't worth doodly, right? So it is long because you have to extend it beyond what you want for your movie, beyond what you want for yourself, beyond what you want for your relationship, beyond what you want for your community, beyond what you want for your industry, beyond what you want for your country, and beyond what you want for your world. This is about how you use your life, your love, your labor. Right? And you have to think as broadly and as detailed as it is. I have a long talk about this. Save it for another day, Ted. Right now, I want you to just recognize that you don't know the path you have to walk on unless you know the destination you want to go. Why don't we think in utopian manners? Ask yourself that, and I think there are some clear answers. But as I said, today, I don't really have much time for that. Second point is the tool of first principles, tenets, and tactics, right? That I want you, again, to try to determine these for your movies, for your company, for yourself, for your industry, and ideally try to make them align with your utopian ideation. Indie film, so-called indie film, failed because it didn't do this, right? It basically, indie film became nothing more than a farm system for Hollywood, right? And that means that it covers about probably a little bit less than 0.5% of all the participants, right? That it didn't really determine beyond its initial principle of embracing individual voices outside of the studio system, right? NonDē film's first priority is the sustainability of the art, the artist, the audience, and the ecosystem that is needed to support all of that. You need a first principle, you need to break it down into tenets, and you have to figure out the tactics that are there to implement it, right? That is such an incredible tool. It is how I manage all of my life. And I encourage you to embrace it. 3, God, I need to see my clock somewhere. I just realized. Okay, panic kicks in. 3, we have to embrace a practice of capturing institutional knowledge. This is another failure of so-called independent film, right? When you start to try to examine the process of change, right, along the way, you start to see how key this fits, right? That generally, when people ask, like, why is change so slow? We kind of have a rote answer that is used, that change won't occur until the pain of the present exceeds the fear of the future, right? How do we recognize that we can't afford to wait that long, right? We need to embrace a practice of both production and overall sustainability that has the tactics of looking at recommended best practices for every aspect of cinema. Indie film had one tactic that served that one principle, which was to demystify the development and production process of our work. One thing. There are so many other aspects of it. You will see the next one that within reach that a lot of this day is focused on is demystifying that for distribution and exhibition. But there are many others across all perspectives and all ways that we engage. To do this, we all, each and individually, and this is where my list starts to build, right? These are other tools, need to take it upon ourselves to develop the resources that we can share with others, right? So if you read my newsletter, you've already got a list of over 200 film financiers that are out there. You already have the list of the over 100 theatrical distributors that work in the United States. You have a list of all the podcasts that deal with the film industry. You have a template to help you in your distribution planning. You have these things being mapped out by FilmStack right now. We need to create resources. And the key piece of this, the practice that we have to embrace with it, and hence the list growing, is transparency. Transparency in all things. Drop your shame about anything, right? To embrace transparency means that we all have to start to recognize the beauty in becoming, right? The fact that we are all in process in one way or the other. Don't look just to the end state, that final product, to say that that's where beauty, the vessel for beauty delivery is, right? To do that, we have to also recognize that a key part of the process is always going to be failure, right? And that means that all of us have to stop being so damn judgy. Like, let it go, get over it, right? We all make mistakes all the time, right? We learn. Franklin's called me out several times. Courtney evaluates what I'm saying. They help me get better at what I do, and I appreciate it, right? We're moving to a better process of recommended best practices. This one, number 4, sounds a little boring, but it is the gasoline on the match, right? That this is where it all explodes. And the key tool is just a simple thing of what I like to call op-imps, which is operational improvements, right? That little changes lead to big results. Little changes show that we actually do make a difference. The reason, now you've been asking yourself, I know because I can see it in your face all the time when I put one of these out, you say, why is it that way? What are the barriers? How do we get through it? This one actually has a really clear indication, right? Why don't we embrace operational improvements? In any closed ecosystem, hi Kelly, you can sit right up here, she's one of our presenters. In any closed ecosystem where the dominant power or capital or customer feels that it is good enough, will never invest the necessary capital, labor, or brain power in the operational improvements. Anyway, so they'll never invest the necessary capital or attention needed for operational improvements to the product or the process. right? That this is what has happened over 40 years in independent film. This is why I consider independent film ultimately a failure, right? We have been like frogs in that warm bath, not knowing that we're served for dinner, right? And along the way, we've allowed every single aspect, except the demystifying of production and development, to rust, to wither, to decay, right? That's how we got into this situation. Oops, eating up my time, this damn technology, I should have fixed it. Anyways, that's why this one exists. That's why we don't address it. 5, we have to embrace a completely new set of metrics for success. Our entire society values essentially 2 things, right? Wealth and status, right? Our industry has embraced us. We are in a system, and that system is in us, right? It's not an aberrant result that we have leaders and people like Trump and Epstein, right? We have the same thing. We've seen many of our leaders of the film industry and the evil and that they're capable of instilling, right? Is that a word? I like it. And just look at where all of this has gotten us, right? This is like, whole host. Oh my God. Okay, I'm not going to go through everything that's bad, right? I just want to say, like, in terms of, I get 5. I'm only going to get 5. I'm panicking already. I'm done.